This is the RPG Design Series panel, version 1, Designing for All Player Types. And so, here we're basically going to be taking a little bit of, if you're designing your own game, I'm going to add in some tips about that, and what to expect and some kind of the elements for your game. But I'm also going to go into just general how to deal with people if you come across them as a GM. And I will say, there's some stereotypical stuff on here, and everyone does this stuff to a degree. And so when I mentioned role players, I understand role playing is important to role playing games, but you'll see what I'm sort of coming up with. So, all right. I wish I could see the screen. Great introductions. So my name is Brandon Jones. I'm the guy who is at that phase shift table over at MITS. That's my main body of work that I've been doing. GMing and DMing on various systems for 15 years. So I've dealt with a lot of different kinds of groups and a lot of different kinds of people. And from designing this game, doing a lot of playtesting, I've sort of come across some of the pitfalls of certain groups, especially what will completely derail them. So why worry about player types? So a lot of times you want to, oh, is it not? Is that on min-maxers or is that close? Okay, great. So why worry about player types? If you're trying to set a tone for your campaign, and you're trying to set a grim, dark fantasy setting where everyone's supposed to be horribly impressed and everything like that, and somebody's like, I want to be a wacky adventurer, you want to maybe talk to them about that before you start murdering everything inside and derailing your game. Also, there is a degree of derailing you should expect from any campaign, because I've not done a single thing that has ever turned out exactly how I expect. I've never not had to throw away pages of notes in the middle of an adventure. So this is the kind of thing where you can get a read on your players early enough, and the kinds of players who are going to be doing your game. And if you're designing a game, what kind of audience you expect for your game, this will be a lot easier to sort of pre-avoid or pre-plan for some of the things that might be happening. So if there's something where you think there's a lot of murder hobo kind of shenanigans going on, you probably want to make a way that you can reverse death easier in your game. So make resurrections and stuff like that a little easier. Or people get into their own shenanigans, you can resurrect players more easily. Or avoid death at some point. And also, you want to worry about player types on the other end, not just derailing. You want to make sure everyone's having a good time and you're giving everybody a little bit of what they want. Each player type, even so if you're, I'll go into this a little bit more detail, but if people do want more heavily role-playing experience, if you just set them to generic role, be like, do whatever. I'm not going to enjoy that as much. But if you want to craft the world people can really get into, that's kind of what they're looking for. If you're talking about min-maxers, they probably would be looking for more options and make characters and stuff like that. Even if you're not encouraging min-maxing outright, they want to be able to look through and dig through a little bit and see what different aspects are being given. Alright, get to it. Min-maxers? Min-maxers. Okay. So, the way I describe it is the people who try to make the best character in expensive character development and possibly making sense. So, I am guilty of this from time to time. My most recent D&D campaign, I played a half-length barbarian / rogue / fighter in 5th edition, just going into a rage and getting sneak attacked with a scimitar, that kind of stuff. So, it's fine to do this from time to time, but this is the person who's most likely to go into multiple multi-classes or only focus on combat and stuff like that. They are probably going to, the way they're going to derail your game is probably their character is going to be way overpowered compared to everyone else. Unless the entire team is min-maxer, which that actually kind of balances out. But it kind of makes the game worse for other people, because if you're min-maxing so heavily that your character is way too good, then you're probably not going to contribute to the story as much. And probably other people are going to have to fill in the gaps, but at the same time, if they don't feel as effective in combat, it kind of sours it for other people. So, that's one thing to keep in mind. Min-maxers, their primary motivation is to have their character be like effective in the game. So it's not just that they're min-maxing to be, well, sometimes to be ridiculous, but the ultimate goal is that they feel like they're doing something superpowered or better than usual. They want to feel that like the effort being rewarded in some way. So the way to deal with over min-maxers is to put them either, my favorite thing is just put the party in situations where the min-maxer is less effective. So for instance, if you're dealing with like a ridiculous wizard that uses a crazy amount of fire spells or something like that, creatures immune or resistant to fire, easy way to sort of like immediately give them. Otherwise, I try to dissuade this, but like GMs can just like add your curse. Like, having them step into a horrible curse because you know what their character kind of does, it sends a, I don't want to do that too much, but at the same time, like, it kind of sends a message to be like, you need to step out a little bit, But you also, on the other hand, you can also put the rest of the party in situations where they shine. Like, if their character is designed just for combat, then you throw a bunch of non-combat encounters, you don't want to make them feel bad about themselves, but you also want to sort of like bring up the rest of the party and be like, you're all contributing here, and you don't have anything to kill right now. So when you're designing a game around min-maxing, you want to make clear weaknesses and strengths to character options. And what I'm talking about is that like, if there are like options, so a lot of people go with like a trait system. What I've seen in a lot of places now, that like, oh, okay, like you have, but it's like, oh, you have one leg, but you're great at magic or something like that, the kind of like plus minus stuff. A lot of min-maxers like that, get ridiculous to be like, I have to be carried around in a wheelbarrow, but I can mind control anything I want, But they, you want to give some like their weaknesses and strengths. If you have like spells in your system, this is the reason why a lot of damage types exist instead of just dealing magic damage, because you want it to be like, oh, well, it's not going to be effective equally against everything. And you want to have stuff be, if you're doing like different damage types, then you want to actually build monsters with different weaknesses and strengths and stuff like that, so that one solution doesn't fit everything. But you can generally find something that makes sense for a lot of character. I will say, min-maxers want an absurd amount of choices for them to sort through. It sounds weird, but I mean, having extra options that, some of them are like, okay, well, that's more of a role-playing thing, and might be useful here. This will just give you plus damage. It's a reasonable choice. And it's okay to have stronger and weaker options. You don't want to be too crazy, but at the same time, like, the more options there are, even if you have some throwaway, it's like, well, that could be useful, but maybe not, That's okay. You don't need to have everything be absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, min-maxers are happiest finding like that diamond in the rough of like feats or spells and class choices, By the way, I didn't mention this, but I'm okay with being interrupted at any point between segments to be like, and what about this? So. I will say, a lot of the older editions of D&D just naturally have gotten so many options that it's kind of just a treasure trove. Yeah, so the 3.5 has... But that kind of... So, you might want to think about, if you're making your own system, you might have to put more effort into giving a lot of options, even if they're not like explicitly like, you don't necessarily need to have a crazy amount of content as far as like, I need to have 20 classes and 80 races and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it means like homebrew is also a perfectly good way to accomplish this, but you don't homebrewing. You either have to make those yourself as yourself, or have them run it by you bunch of times. Just make sure nothing like surprises you, like, and I have a nuclear missile. What? Yeah. Yeah. Also, it's 100% okay to provoke house rules at any time. Especially because, like, you could run away with that. I might at least get it. Okay, good. Alright, so I feel like this is a very common thing among D&D groups, because these people have their own plans and want to kill things, and that's fine. A lot of systems are very combat heavy, but at the same time, these are the people that are most likely to make you just crumble all of your notes. Be like, well, no one's there to give you the quest, so great. They probably are going to derail the plot by murdering the one person they need to talk to, or to cast a fireball on a page of notes because they think they're cursed or something like that. So, if you have too much of this in your campaign, you have to improvise so much. But also, you literally have to like get creative and be like, no, this is an undestroyable magic letter you just got. Just to make sure that they can't ruin it, they still will, but they can't. So, yeah. As far as catering to people who are loose cannons a little bit, you probably want to have more action in your party if it's mostly made up. And again, this is, you kind of get the vibe of like what's the dominant theme in your party. You probably want to have more combat thrown in. They're probably going to be less likely to want to like investigate a mystery of what's happened. You know, they're probably going to want to be like, all right, who do we kill? Where do we get? Where do we go? Where do we go? I like this plot already. All right. Will murdering people help? Great. You know. So,
is there a way to like incorporate their like chaos? You know, like, do you ever say like, okay, this is kind of like a fun, unexpected element?
So, the one thing I'm most proud of in a campaign is I had this very much, and I had already set up something about like, oh yeah, you have to fight the forces of darkness and yada yada. But I set them in an area where I knew they were going to basically just pull the trigger immediately and just like, all right, let's storm this place. But the place ended up being like more of like a civilian kind of stronghold. It wasn't necessarily like kind of like you added the shades of gray to be like, oh no, you've done a horrible thing. But they realized it right at the end when I was hoping they would. So that's my most proud moment. Things actually went according to plan because I knew they were going to derail the plan. So there's ways of like, you know, making sure that if they do start fighting, you're sort of expecting that. And that's part of how you actually deal with loose cannons. I prefer murder hobos often. You want to have additional like floating encounters. So a lot of times if it doesn't go according to plan, you want to have like, all right, well here's some sets of monsters that could theoretically be in the world. They usually don't mind random encounters and stuff like that. Like, well, you have to travel back to town because you killed the person, and then they fight another group that happens to have the notes on you. You will also want to, in addition to the encounters, you just want to have random monsters floating around. Not necessarily in a fight, but to be like, oh no, this is gone wrong, I need to have them do something. So, when you're designing a game, everyone has this to a degree, but if there's people who are more interested in like combat, you probably want to make at least one character class like a little simpler to play. And I hate to admit it, but D&D is kind of fighters. I love fighters and paladins, but a lot of times they are the simplest to play. I won't probably about that, but and you at least want to provide like simpler options for people who want to like get right to it. You know, like I don't want to have like charm spells or anything like that. I want to hit them hard and they need to die. I want to live forever. Great. And that's fine. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but at the same time, like, we've all been there. We've all seen that. So, and also, in addition to when you're designing a game, you probably want to have a lot of generic monsters to be able to fight. A lot of things that would normally serve as NPCs, like in Phase Shift, I added a lot of just like generic corporate security troopers, because if you are wandering into a place and start to shoot it up, you probably want to have just like, oh, well, these are just security guards in place who are supposed to be nice too, you know. you have to kind of like anticipate, like, well, they might be fighting neutral-ish combatants. Even good combatants might not be a bad idea to throw in because anything can happen. Alright, so. So, I know role players, again, it's a loaded term, but you know, like, a lot of times, like, heavy role players are focused much more on what their character would do. That's not a bad thing a lot of the time. Getting into character, not terrible, but there are some people who will take it to much more of an extreme, where they will interrupt other people trying to do things, be like, oh no, I would stop you from doing that, you know. They're most likely to derail the plot because they're going to inject themselves into whatever's going on. So, they are probably going to derail it if their character wouldn't do the thing that you need them to do to advance the plot. So, if somebody's like, oh yeah, but my character wouldn't have a reason to go here, so I'm going to split the party now. Like, I wouldn't want to, like, infiltrate this village, because you know, that's why you always have the joke of, like, the paladin going, like, la 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 la, you know, I'm not listening to what's going on right now. That's an easy way of making it so, like, okay, you can still be in character, but have a little bit of license with it. But yeah, they're probably going to try to inject themselves and their backstory into the plot. So you be prepared for that as GM. They're going to want to be put in situations where they can probably avoid just random reckless combat. They're probably going to be like,
going to yoga.
no, we can talk this out. That's not what we're supposed to do. Sometimes they try to do that to a dragon or something, and that might not work out so well. So, but they also want to just be able to be in character, and they want to like shine at, you know, oh, I'm doing the thing my character's doing. So, you know, that's basically just their motivation to be in their character's motivation. So, yeah. Yeah, that's, I mean, marketing is role playing, you know.
Is I usually those kind of role players and like elements of the backstories and stuff like that, or other things that they already care about, and then I sort of have those things in the stuff that I would be okay with. They've got scripted.
And that's an element of good. That's an element of good DMing too. Just like I like to, before I start a campaign, I try to drag backstory out of everybody. Even if it is like a couple, like paragraph of like, okay, why are you here? How did you meet this person? Even if I have to be like, okay, I wrote this for you, is this okay? You know, like, and try to like leave it into the main plot or something like that. Usually, like, that makes people feel like at least a little role-playing inclination to be a little happier. But yeah, you're going to want to focus more on, if you have a group of heavy role players, you're going to want to focus more on giving a spotlight to individual characters. So like you're saying, like adding things into the plot that make sense, like, oh, this is you, you're the descendant of this ancient race of people that needs to go find the gem and get the thing, you know. It works a lot better, makes players feel, you know, more special. You're probably going to want to add some non-combat stuff into the plot. It's a little more awkward if you have half loose cannons and half role players, but nobody's perfect, but you know. And when you're designing a game around this, you're going to want to have options ready for like diplomatic and non-combat means of solving problems. Usually that means like if you have combat skills, you also have non-combat skills in abilities and stuff like that. Just so people have the option of choosing that and wanting to make their character more focused on like, you know, if not just straight up like killing things, like at least like stunning them, shutting them down, stuff like that. Stuff that's not outright just like damage, you know. Helps with getting character a little more. And one thing, spells and abilities should probably be multi-purpose, not just for combat. Obviously there are the like, okay, I just want to cast fireballs, but it is more useful if you can also, especially if you're like a non-fancy magic system where you don't have specific spells. It's a lot easier for people to just be like, oh, well, why can't I try a fireball spell just to create a fire right here or something like that? That makes sense. But if it doesn't make sense in your game system, sometimes that can get a little, you have to kind of like improvise that as a GM. Maybe you don't want to do that when you're designing your game. So, just something to think about. Alright, moving on to the next section. Yes, I have done this a lot. I will say a lot of this is me. So, I have done all of this at some point or another. So again, I'm not trying to like lead anybody from doing this. I just want to give some tips on how to deal with it. So these are people who will use the game system's rules against you and for their own benefit, or will make decisions to win. That is it. They might not need to they might not necessarily need to kill everything, but they are probably going to want to be like, they're all asleep, let's walk away. They can't do anything. Like turning someone into a frog, put them in a bag of holding, they suffocate. Someone literally did that in a campaign. Because if you don't take damage, polymorph doesn't wear off. Like that kind of thing. To be like, it works. It's silly, but it works. So yeah. And then we forgot we banished like chimeras, and we're like, oh no, it's been a minute, you know. So yeah. There's stories. Anyways, so they're probably going to stop the flow of the game by spending 15 minutes looking at the exact wording of how the fireball spell works. Because they need to know, like, oh, will this affect stuff outside? You know, like, is it a sphere? Is it a cube? What is it? You need to look this up right now and figure it out, because it matters to what I'm going to do in this 6-second real span of time that I made to make that decisions on. So they're probably going to derail your game by trying to invalidate what licenses you've taken with a monster or something like that. They're like, oh no, it's immune to fire. I'm like, no, it can't be immune to fire, because that kind of creature is definitely immune to fire. That kind of thing. They'll also be like, oh, that's not what that's not what the charm spell does. I actually looked it up and I'm immune to that. Like, no, you're not. This needs to work. You know. You have to be ready for that. But yeah, they'll try to call you on any license you take with the rules. You just need to lay down the law a little bit and be like, nope, that's how this works. Or, you know, it's better than you think. Or it's actually a 12th level spell that doesn't exist. Ha! You know. So, but you probably want to let them know beforehand if there's going to be any license you're going to take, if there's any house rules or anything like that. If you're running a steampunk D&D campaign, you want to be like, all right, here's what all the numbers do. Here's the kind of thing you can do with all of them. There's very specific rules you need to know before we start, so you don't go crazy when we actually start like running this. And any modifications you need to make to the existing game structure would be like, oh, there's no magic items, to make sure they don't just start, you know, going crazy. You want to just pre-establish a lot of the stuff they're working with. Just so they know what they're doing. But you either need to be more solid on the rules than they are, it's hard sometimes, or you need to just shut things down and start looking things up. If they're like, oh, I need to look at the exact thing in Fireball, be like, well, do you know how it works? Like, basically, like, yeah, it's like, all right, it's fine. You know, just, you can cut off a lot of the, like, time and spent looking stuff up by just being like, look, it works, great, let's move on. Because it's people otherwise don't want to sit for 15 minutes while they're looking up on it. So, when you're designing a game, you need to provide very detailed explanations for how all your spells or abilities or guns or whatever work. You probably want to specify, like, forgetting that, like, if you have, like, a modifier that says, like, this thing is on fire, and you forget to say it can be applied only to weapons, they're going to be like, I have a ring that's on fire, I'm just going to grab you for a while. You know, they're going to try to get into weird, specific, like, exceptions to your rules. You want to try to anticipate, like, how could this get really silly? And be like, it could only paint once per round. Or, you know, that kind of stuff. So, you can also hide more complicated effects in the manual in order to add complexity for rules lawyers to, like, dig through. Like, if you mention knocks prone in the manual, you probably want to have something at the end of the glossary to, like, what exactly does that mean? So it is an easily acceptable place, they can look it up, they don't have to dig through for 80, you know, 80 minutes. Alright, so, let's move on. Any questions about rules lawyers? Yes? Yeah, you make all the decisions as GM. If you're like, nope, that's not how it works, they might be a little, you know, grumbly about it, but as long as you don't do it all the time, or you tell them that's what's happening.
Like you were saying, if you would test that from the start.
Yeah, if you pre-address it.
It comes when it's sprung on.
Yeah. But as long as you're like, this is how this works, it's how we're going to play this game, fine. As long as they agree to it beforehand, they're not going to, that's all that needs is vaccine vehicles. I am so bad about this. I GM a lot of games when I play a game. I try to be like, so, alright. So these are people who will jump in and try to run your game. They are most likely to say what kinds of craftsmen your medieval town should have. They'll be like, oh no, well, we would have a smith. Every town needs this. And try to, they're also going to try to describe the room that you're about to describe. To be like, oh, so it's like a cavern with this kind of structure, and yes, fine, but so they might steal your thunder a lot. So it happens. But they could derail your game by telling you that you're wrong about how kobolds wouldn't unionize or something. Yeah. See, starting an argument about like union structures of kobolds. Well, that's how a lot of backseat GMs would be like, I don't know if they operate like that. I think they're solitary creatures, and that kind of thing. But they will want to jump in and like help you run your game, or make some plot points for you. Even though and then, oh no, I didn't think of that, now I have to incorporate this little plot, that kind of stuff. So, this one's trickier, because they're trying to be helpful, but you want to, if you have too much of this, you might want to consider some more homebrew aspects, just so it keeps them on their toes, and it's not something that they're like, I've run this 100 times, it's great, You might not want to run, if you're running an adventure module, especially, a pre-made module, you want to make sure that they haven't read it. Because if they know everything that's going to happen, that kind of ruins it. They're like, oh yeah, don't step on that square, it's trash. How would you know? It's a feeling I have.
Another thing is, player tends to ask a lot of, well, what's blank made out of? It's like, okay, it's made out of this thing I just made up, so I'll be slow down.
So how thick is this wall? Like that's So most walls are like a foot, right? So I can cast this thing. It's all something to watch out. But they're probably going to read all the books you did. So you want to aspects that. When you're designing a game, you probably want to provide some generalized monsters that can be modified pretty easily. So that, like, you want to make a fiery golem instead of like a regular, instead of like different types of the same kind of monster. If you can't have like an absurd amount of monsters that they will never be able to memorize them all, great. But you also want to be able to make something that they can like tweak for their own purposes. As far as like GMs go, then you can also catch people, flat-footed, so to speak. So
their archetypes are pretty much based on like what their patron is, like who's giving them their powers. And so some of them
there must be
patron is a dungeon master.
At least for like
so you're like the
D&D stuff.
freaking warlock.
ICR, my name, and also.
Yeah.
What are the skills that
And if you can pull that off, it's a great resource for players.
to attack the stat block of the monster.
But yes, as far as game designing goes, you want these people to play your game because they're the people who will go off and make their own rule. So you want to encourage that to make it easy to GM, that they can also be like, hey, I want to run this in my own campaign, Because if you're designing your game, that's the biggest hurdle, is getting a whole group of people to sit down and play something. So you can sell one person on it, they then have to sell all their friends. So if you're getting GMs excited about your game, great. But it might create some faction with the GMs, which it's fine. New and old. So these are the people who either don't know how to play the game or are not paying attention. So they're probably going to forget everything their character does all the time. And you either have to remind them or they're probably going to play their character without bonuses or forget options and stuff like that. They can derail your game by slowing things down to a crawl while they have to look up on how to write down the spells. Because that's a similar problem to the rules lawyer, except they literally just forgot. So yeah, it's kind of the opposite. Yeah. So they need to want help understand their character and how to play it. So one thing I would suggest for your GM, have them a copy of their character sheet so that you can be like, and I know how this works. Like look over it and be like, hey, you forgot this. Even if it means they're doing better against your monster, to be like, hey, you'll be honest with this, just so you know. Hopefully they'll remember. Maybe they won't. If it's a new player, they probably just don't know yet. But if it's a board player, sometimes you can be like, hey, it's your turn. That kind of stuff.
Always have the players.
Yes. But it's especially important for some people, yeah, you can trust to be like, you can manage your character. You have like a laptop out with your character sheet or something like that.
I've had this a lot of times with the most experienced players. I'm like, look, that doesn't stack with this, right? They're like, what? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. I will say, back to the topic of min-maxers, you want to check out whatever they're doing. Because if it seems ridiculous, it probably is. Probably not to get but if you want to cater to like new players, especially new RPG players, one thing you want to do is make some easy start guides for like how to make a character, how to run a campaign. You want to have materials that just give them a gist of your rules. You're probably not going to look at how like flanking and stuff like that work. They want to be able to come play pretty easily and they'll get the gist and go off and maybe read the rest of the stuff later, get better at it. You know. Also, you want to make some character options very straightforward. People who are bored are not going to look at their spells all the time. They're going to forget what it is, and they're probably going to gravitate more towards the like fighter paladin, ranger kind of classes that like have options to be like, I shoot it. All right. You know. But yes, having something that's easy to do every turn to keep things moving, helpful. Also, I would make some sample characters, because a lot of people might not know how to make characters. So having some examples helps people be like, oh, that's what it's supposed to look like. That, you know, if they're bored and don't want to commit to make a character, they just pick it up and start playing with it. Or if they're new to it or don't have the time or something like that, if someone jumps into your group, it's easy. Okay. So, let's say the worst case. So there might be people who are completely going to derail everything. That they might try to kill the entire party for you. I don't have a lot of advice on this, because a lot of times there is a character so disruptive, you just need to talk to them about it and be like, oh, you can't do this. You literally, if you're, to a degree, if you have like a chaotic evil character in the middle of a bunch of lawful good characters, you need to talk to them to make sure, like, look, are you gonna really start like doing this? And I have like a protect the realm kind of plot. Like, are you gonna get on board with this or not? Like, you need to talk to them about it. They're gonna really disrupt things and take it in their own direction. Like, the worst case is just talk to them about it alone. Don't just be like, look, you have to stop doing this. Everyone agrees. But talk to them about it alone, because they know they're being disruptive. People don't usually know when they're being just insufferable, so they'll probably understand. Anyone who gets too far with any of these, if you can comment, if things get too disruptive, just talk about it alone. It usually works. Hopefully, but not every D&D group is going to work out. So it might just be that like it's fundamentally incompatible with your GM style or something like that. Just have to watch out for it. But try to like lay it down and be like, look, this is going to be a role-playing heavy campaign. Please try not to contradict this too bad. So, but if you talk to them, they should be a little more open to it. So now, that's it. That is it. Do you have any questions that you haven't covered in any of this? Or any nightmare scenarios you want to share? I see a hand up there.
Yeah,
Just a sort of broad question about the backseat GM.
Yes.
It seems like there were a lot of behaviors described there, some of which were disruptive and some of which were
Yeah, all of these are helpful in their own way. Like, rules lawyers will know the rules, they're going to be able to help out more. I don't mean to paint all of these in a negative light. These are just kind of archetypes that players fit into. Like I said, I'm a backseat GM a lot. I have to internally keep that in check. But at the same time, like, yeah, if you're helping, like, fill in gaps places, it's not a bad thing. Just something to be aware of. If you were running a group of all backseat GMs, you might want to hold the rule a little more than you want. Yeah, play like story games. It just had like appeal to them as well. Yeah.
I was Pathfinder game, ran a little 15 so I'm thinking, oh, really big fantastic, but not big all the time. Certain player didn't understand the consequences of work, especially then. What are the PCs?
I would say, as far as the worst case slide, if you kill everybody, that's your fault. If they kill everybody, it's their fault. So, if there's something that naturally is a super bad idea, like one time they had to stop demonic summoning ritual in a group, and they decided to let it happen because it would lead to more experience. That was the justification they gave. To be like, no, let's wait this out and kill it for more XP.
Okay, so he gave me enough time. I like configured and everything else. But overtime's actually got some like good, nice things to it. So, I started being able to incorporate that. So you like go through kind of like, so I see like Druid speak and it's like, yeah, it's like, you see like some of the masterminds, this, you see just like the markup of Druid that you know what things for.
Because I'm also a rules lawyer, they try to summoner character. And so
he gave me the forward
teleport away. And all everything oh, I can't teleport with my eye. I'm a rule lawyer. I was like,
oh, punishing them for trying to screw with things.
Right here.
I found someone who in my school program. Just coming up. Hey, Rumpton.
That's what I thought. Yeah, really.
How's it going? Going well. How's the graduating life?
Yeah, he was part of it.
Well, alright, you guys need to calm down.
No, it wasn't him.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Again, don't talk about it in front of me.
I realized there was a character phone.
Just like in the little bars.
It's you who's it. When I get a tired panel of the game, but I already know that would be
Doesn't really like like hanging out with us and so kind of like we got like and also how much like you take like
so. If they're just disengaged, unless like they just talk, I have run into people who are like, oh, okay, usually because they haven't played that much, or like aren't comfortable yet, maybe a group or something like that. But I wouldn't. It's not that isn't as much of a sense to me to just say that's going to make them way more uncomfortable. I would, however, try to add some things to make them feel more welcome, like incorporate them into the plot, like look like role players. Like make them a focus on a certain section. Like this is your section. Yeah, I know, but I would also see it if it is starting to be a problem.
they're just like
Yeah, as long as it doesn't, if they're doing it on their turn, like
just happened.
Yeah, no. Those are down your
But it's medieval fantasy.
Yeah,
It's a very
Well, in the same vein, like you were saying, like in order to have a larger, but it
then you need a backseat jam. I guess.
for all adults, so people can drop in and drop out or
Yeah, same thing. Make sure you're down for something.
makes for if you play every player solidly, and it makes for communication and phone message back and forth. But we do have a case where a couple people feel seem disengaged, and sometimes it might be that something within the party dynamic or within the group dynamic might be making them uncomfortable. So that's why they're disengaging, because but they're your friends, and you don't want to not hang out with them at the same time. So it's important to have that communication.
And like in my group too, like I'm regular content. A lot of them do have like jobs, so like you get good on the computer space and everything. And what you say, like I understand that like a lot of like working hours on it, like they try to like make sure they're constantly so like and they still show up every week. And that's why like when we're playing Pathfinder, like I don't think that this is for us to do to try a layer system. So you don't have to wake up very
Less might not be bad. Yes, you gotta read your players early on and be like, they are erupting a lot to be like, I'm gonna look this up.
I learned about something that I didn't know where somebody's uncomfortable that they throw up the heck where they say, like, I don't know the situation right now, and I'm just gonna keep having a game right now. And it's something that's discreet, so you can talk about something without maybe pause what you're doing, walk it back a couple frames maybe, and then just keep working on it. It's now whatever is going on. So like say, if you're in a I'll just like an example where one of our characters was really racist, was everything and maybe several people were very uncomfortable. And we all said, you know what, something we show this evening because well, I mean,
I was gonna say, I played a goblin once and accused them of being racist.
not anybody,
That's different.
like directly because it was just in general, like, throwing out slurs.
Yeah, and that is a big division. I will say that is.
So, having that now is like, instead of, hey, we need to talk about this now. I don't know what this is, but I'm going to put a pin in it and let's go back.
Yeah.
We can go on without this.
Yeah, if you have like something where you can address it right then, great. Otherwise, like, don't be afraid to talk to your GM afterwards. Like, I had to do it. I'm like, look, this campaign's getting really depressing. Is this ending soon? Like, I just happen to be like a horrible all the time. I'm just like, I don't know, she's a great person. Like, can we lighten up a little bit?
We have massive advantage.
Oh, yeah. Oh, D&D's gotten a lot darker this day. Yeah, like Castle Layer Love and everything in there. Like the Tomb of Horrors. What? Like,
Yeah, I wanted to ask, you've got a lot of different player types. Why is there probably more often you're going to have lots of different ones at the table? Can you talk about some good strategies for balancing the fact that you've got one min-max and one role player, one role player, and
so
stuff?
really you just gotta pepper in a little bit of each. That like, if one person is super min-maxing, their character's ridiculous, you do have to kind of balance the encounter around that. But at the same time, like, you have to then be like, okay, well, you have a certain place to shine. You have a certain place to shine. There's like, you have to make sure, if we have like literally like a role player, min-max, or a rules lawyer, max, you want to be like addressing each of that. Like, you want to make sure, like, if it's a rules lawyer, okay, home rule a little bit maybe. added some extra rules, or like, oh, well, these enemies don't really follow the regular thing. Like, if you know exactly what the holder does, you're not going to just be like, oh, that eye does this, we should be aware of it. It's a little bit meta-gaming, but you just add a little bit from each.
Along those lines, you have different player types in your games. What happens when you have conflicts with the party because of the different player types? For instance, I had a situation once where a role player was having an interaction with another player character who was a rules lawyer. And the role player was like, my character put his hand on your character's shoulder, and the rules lawyer threw up his arms. I'm like, you're not allowed to do that. You have to roll an attack of opportunity, and you have to roll this, that, and the other, and you have to start initiative, and if you don't roll higher than me, I don't see it coming, and we have to go to this guy.
That's more, yeah, GM mediation has to work on that to be, but if you're gonna deal with that, you have to make a decision like, and that's it. Like as a GM to be like, look, I'm gonna allow this, but you have to roll this or something, you know, like making it just simplifying and be like, look, I think this is fair. And if somebody's like, that's not fair, be like, well, I'm GM. Sorry, like, if you decide that, oh, all of you have changed into elves, that's kind of a dick thing to do, but you can do that.
Love rephrase.
Yeah.
I have a question. What happens if you have an unvaccinated GM, like 5 or new slash 4? Like, I don't know, like 10 or something.
No, that's fine.
I just started GMing and usually I have my best friend is the one who's really good at it. And but I started DMing and it was a really cool idea. And he's not hard with it, but I'm the DM and my other character, he's online and players think that I'm just like, he's really not power about what to do. I'm like, hey guys, what do you want to do? And I'm like, this shit sounds
It feels like he's just taking the reins.
yeah.
So, a tactful way to handle that, as far as I'm aware, is to give something else to do, like, handle the initiative, or like, be like, hey, could you help people, like, make the character? If you have get involved in another way, that's not just, like, running the game, maybe that helps a little bit. But, I mean, that's kind of a rough scenario, because you have so many new players, then there's, like, an experience imbalance. So, it's a little more difficult, but you should try to, I try to take the vaccine GM and then have them help, like try to encourage the like help other players if they don't know what they're doing. Be like, oh yeah, let me help them with how that spell works or something like that.
Try to see mechanics, those mechanics and just like stories on it. And people allow the others are just like, okay, whatever, they just want to like hang out.
Yeah, then that sounds more of the like private conversation territory to be like, hey, can you stop? No, it doesn't have to be like, you have to stop. Like, people usually understand to be like, look, we need to, you know, it's gonna work out better. It's like, lay off a little bit here, and, you know, like I said, throw like a little. Alright, so it is 12. I can do like one question.
So the party that's at role players at Burgers aren't that far.
Okay,
So yeah,
the classic scenario.
Yeah, it's like they like why should we negotiate? Just fight it over. So it's easier to use role players than just like tailor made on the characters. It's harder to if you want fighting characters. No, you should just talk to this
Random encounters. That's my like. If you're traveling or something like that, or like there's something for them to fight, like just because they're exploring it, like if they're sneaking into a castle or something like that, doesn't mean the castle doesn't have like a rat swarm underneath it or something like that. That like in the middle of it you could just pepper it in. That's kind of my like. You have to mix it up based on what people. You know, that's kind of.
So
yeah.
basically more fights for them, so they're kind of like at their fill at a time.
That are
Here's the
clearly supposed to. Yeah, that are clearly supposed to be fighting. And usually it's that when you have stuff like, oh no, you weren't supposed to fight them, and you do that too much, then you're not going to want to fight anybody.
Difference between a K-word that requires to do that I've found is say you don't want them to fight this NPC or something with that huge. make that NPC badass and requires more like lead up to it. But like, show that NPC doing something badass or like something alluding to them being badass. And it sort of gives the players a hint that like, oh, maybe we shouldn't just like charge in, sword swinging at this guy.
This guy has a weapon bigger than you.
Yeah.
Like,
But then it runs into a trope in the game. Of like, this guy has like fancy armor and weapon. Okay, this is an important NPC in the story. Okay.
But then